Alright guys, here we are, the final 5 of the Viewer Big Buck Camera Challenge. Now before we get into a lot of details, I just want to state this. This was super hard. Every single one of the guys struggled to come up with a buck at first when we were doing our first cut, because there are so many good ones. These guys spent a lot of time going over these pictures and picking and repicking and thinking and going over it. It was pretty awesome to see. These guys really did a lot of choices here and a lot of hard work. So we had James Smith. He's the president of the New Hampshire Antler and Skull Trophy Club. He's the guy I go to with these pictures a lot because he's really adept at seeing a set of antlers and being able to class it into like a 140, 150, 160 class. And he's really been very accurate on it. He sees more big antlers than any of us because he scores all the time. So he was a great member to have on this, and I want to thank him for all his hard work on this. The other guys, they were basically going off in visual, both body size, age, and antlers. That's kind of our criteria. So we cut it down to the final 5, which just was brutal. So that said, what I'm planning to do here is to go over the pictures, the final 5 on our computer over here, and I'm going to kind of go over why they didn't make number 1 and how they got their place, and just go over the pictures. A lot of the pictures that you guys sent in, there were deer that I can almost bet that if they were fully developed antlers in the pictures, they may have been the winner. There's one in particular in here that it's a 230 to 240 pound dressed whitetail with a wicked masked rack on it, but it just wasn't developed enough, so we didn't feel that it was right to choose that one to put to the final 5. But every one of these deer is a trophy, and every one of you who put into this contest and entered should be very proud of yourselves for getting these bucks on camera. These bucks that you've got on camera are bucks that a lot of guys just can't ever get. So I'm hoping that you guys get these bucks and kill them this year so we can see the pictures of them and James can score them and put them in the book. And I hope that it's over 200 pounds so you get your patch. That said, we're going to go over here and check this computer out. And one other thing, guys. These are all New England bucks. These bucks are all in Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine. These are bucks that you guys can get. You just need to get out there and do your due diligence, do your homework, and find these guys. So let's get over here and go over the final 5. And for those of you who didn't make the final 5, good luck next year, and I hope to see you enter again. So here we go. Alright, here's number 5. He's a wide 10-pointer. We estimated, the group of us, that he's about 4.5 years old. We're going on that because his neck isn't attached to his brisket in depth like you see on a 5.5 or 6-year-old. His shoulders are big, but they're not fully developed, and the depth of body isn't as deep as you usually see with the older bucks. He's also, his head is still a little small compared to some of these bigger bucks. The only thing on this deer that I can tell you that isn't really small is his rack. It's big and it's wide, and we're guessing he's somewhere in the 18 or 19 inch range in width. and probably 9, maybe 10-inch tine on one side. A little stronger on the left than the right, but he's definitely a 4.5-year-old as far as I'm concerned. Probably in the 180-pound class range, I would guess. He just reminds me of the split brow buck that we had last year. That same build and that same rack, almost the same conformation. So, and I'm guessing he was a 4.5 or 5-year-old, that one. So, I'm going to lean to 4.5. But anyways, the big problem we had with this picture was that we couldn't see the rear end. And the rear end of the buck is where a lot of the weight is. If I would estimate my age maybe a little different if he had a real heavy rear end. But I'm going to go with a 4.5-year-old. And next year, this deer could be the winner. He's that good. I mean, he's tremendous. I'd shoot him if he came down the trail, even if he was a 4.5-year-old. He's pretty awesome. So, that was number 5. Let's go to number 4. Number 4 is a 5x6. Really good set of antlers on him. Really unique. He's got a broken nose, and the guy, the entrant who sent this in calls him the broken nose buck. He's fairly heavy, probably in the 190-pound class range. His neck's attached to the brisket in the right place, so he's probably a 5.5-year-old. So he's definitely within the running here. Won't score as well as the last buck because he's got a lot of difference from side to side. So that was kind of a consideration. And he's one of those bucks, he's not real long in the body. He's kind of short from the pictures. Maybe different if you saw him in person. But that kind of lent to being in 4th place. Super buck. I mean, once again, any one of us would shoot this buck. He's unique. He's really cool. I'm impressed with him. It's just, you know, I would have voted all of them number 1 if I could, but I couldn't. So that's number 4. All right, here we are on number 3. And this buck right here is a 4.5-year-old. And I can tell you that because he's ass high. 4.5-year-olds' rear ends are always higher than their front. They look like they're in pretty good shape. They're going to have a heavy body. His rear end's a little light. It is a January picture, so he might be rutted out some. But he is ass high. He's definitely a little lighter than that. He's probably right there in that picture, probably right around 180, 175, maybe a little less, maybe 160. And it's January, -6 degrees, so he's a little fluffy. And you know how that works when they get really cold. Their hair stands on end, and they look way heavier than they are. You can see his rib cage and stuff, so he's a little light. But he's got a wicked nice rack. He's an 11. So he's really good. A little weaker on one side. He's got a couple of short points there. Not super score. And he's a 4.5-year-old. I think the last 4.5-year-old was a little bit heavier and better built. This guy's short and cobby in the body too. So he's not going to weigh as much as he looks like he's going to weigh. But he made 3rd place, which is pretty dang good. Anything that's got 6 points on one side is probably going to make it. So into the top 5. He's a really nice buck. He's got a lot of growing to do, and he's definitely a super trophy. And another one at 4 years old, I'd probably shoot if he came running through the woods. Especially with a rack like that, you see that rack and you start thinking bigger body. But he made 3rd. The guys were really impressed with him. They loved that little kicker point, that little that small point in between the G2 and the G4. So yeah. So that was number 3. Great buck again. God, this was hard. All right, here's number 2. Now, number 2 is my choice. I got a little bit more of this buck. He's got massive shoulders. He's really tall. He's got a big neck, and this is in August. His neck is already big. He's got a huge gut on him, long in the body. This is a true Northwoods giant right here. This is a big buck. The guys are just amazed, and you can just see his feet are huge. This is a dream buck for me. This deer probably dressed will probably go somewhere in the 240 class range, I'm thinking, just by body size, comparing him to that 4-year-old that was at number 5. And the rack is huge. It's got extreme mass. Pretty decent spread. But once again, we can't see his rear quarter, which kind of cut him back a little bit. That was kind of a problem. Even though you can see that this is definitely a giant buck. I mean, he's super tall. That rack is just something. It's got a little kicker there. The guys are really impressed with this buck. And this one here, this is Taster's choice right here. This is the one I'd go after if I had the chance. This is a beast. I really like this buck. And he's just a mainframe 8. He's got a little kicker there off his G2. Super cool. This buck's got everything, except for I can't see his rear end. And I really wish that I had a picture of him looking at the camera to really get an idea of actual spread. And that was one of the things James said. It's really hard to judge spread on this deer and really get a good picture of how big this deer is. It's a great photo, other than I wish the deer was a little more centered. You don't have control over that. So super. You can see the muscular shoulders on him. Oh man, he's just awesome. I love this buck. I could look at this picture all day. But that was number 2. Now, before we go any further with that, we're going to do a second place because this was so hard and we took so much time. So this buck right here, this big 8-pointer, 9-pointer, I guess you'd call him with that kicker. This is our second place winner, and we will announce in a second what he won. So let's go to number 1. There he is. That deer is probably close to 23, 24 inches wide. We're guessing probably 10-inch tines on him. He's got a little kicker over there on his G2. Really decent brow tines. Super wide. The buck isn't as heavy as I'd like, but he is an older buck. His brisket and neck are 1. This is at August 18th, this picture was taken. It's an older buck. He's a very old buck, as far as I can tell by his build. So he's at prime. He's probably a 6.5. I would say 6.5, maybe 7-year-old. He's got some weight to put on him. His rear end is pretty gaunt. And I was kind of not against this buck. I didn't vote for this buck. I voted for the second place buck, which, you know, it's a democracy. So the guys outvoted me. But they voted for this buck for a number of reasons. And one of the reasons they voted for this buck is just, partially it's a video. So they could really judge antler size. You can kind of just gauge by demeanor that this is an older buck. A very old buck. I mean, he may even be near 8 years old. So he's a true woods warrior. So age and antler size trumped body size in this case. He's probably going to run somewhere in the 180, 190 class body weight. So he's not the heaviest buck in this, but he definitely has the biggest antlers that we've seen. And James estimated this to be somewhere between 140 and 155. So he's probably the biggest rack buck we have in this. And what really helped is he's almost 100% fully developed, which really helps these pictures on these bucks. You really have to look at this a lot to see and really judge those antlers. But, you know, ear to ear tip is about 18 inches, and he's out way beyond that. And judging by that distance, and you judge the antlers, it's pretty big. So Congratulations for this buck. He's just awesome. Alright guys, that's the winner. A big wide 9-pointer. 7 or 8 years old. That's a trophy anywhere in the country. Not only that, but here in New England, that's a really big time trophy. Especially with a spread and a set of antlers like that. So, without further ado, let's announce our winners. So, up to this point, the only thing I've known was each one of these pictures had a number attached to it. So did the other guys. So all that happened was we voted on a number and a picture. The only person who knew these deer by the people who sent them in was Diane. She's the only person that had names. I got names right here. So at this point, we're going to start by announcing our second place winner. Second place is Jason Lyle with that big monster 9-pointer. Oh, that deer has got me hooked. I love that deer. Jason, if you shoot him, I'll come help you drag it out myself, and I'll congratulate you right there. So, what did you win? You won a custom scrape pack from Black Widow that I put together myself. That has got branch butter in it. It's got the new rub butter. It's got Triple X. It's got Scrape Master and Extreme Interest. It's a really cool set. I think you'll really like it. I know I do because I use it all the time. If you need any tips, you can even check the channel or you can contact me. Now, the moment we've all been waiting for. Who's the big winner? Ready? Willie Pilkowski. You are the 2021 Viewer Big Buck Camera Challenge winner with that big, wide 9-pointer. What a deer. I'm telling you, that is a great deer. I don't even know how he's making it through the woods. He's so wide. Anyways, you won the G45 NG Max Stealth Cam and a custom pack of Black Widow scents and scent holders. The whole kit that we kind of put together ourselves, and a Fam Bam camera mount. So we'll be getting in contact with you guys and seeing how we can get this stuff to you. And you never know, I might also contact you to talk to you guys and interview you about how you guys went about getting these big bucks on camera. I think that would make a really cool episode. So, that said, everybody else who put in for this, congratulations. You guys are the real winners. Why? Because you got these big bucks on camera, and now you have the information you need by getting these pictures all year to kill these bucks. So, good luck. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned because we're going to do this again next year, and hopefully you'll enter and win some prizes. Thanks a lot for watching. We'll talk to you later.